Okay. Well, I know you've all been avidly waiting for us. We had a little work this morning in Panel A, so I apologize for the delay. This is a formal meeting of the Licensing Committee of the Medical Board of California. I'd like us all to turn off our cell phones to silent to make sure they are off the table, and make sure they're off the table so we can avoid feedback noise. You may notice committee members accessing their laptops during the meeting. They are using the laptops solely to access the committee meeting materials that are in electronic format. We have a designated time on the agenda for public comment and ask for public comment on each agenda item. I ask that you be respectful of the need to conduct the committee's business. Should anyone disrupt the meeting, I will ask the person to conduct himself or herself in such a manner that permits the committee to transact its business. This meeting will be available via teleconference. Individuals listening to the meeting will have an opportunity to provide public comment and will be assisted by a moderator who will be facilitating the teleconferencing process. For those members of the public participating via teleconference, please wait until the moderator has introduced you before you make your comments. To request to make a comment during the public comment period, press *1. You will hear a tone indicating you are in the queue for comment. If you change your mind and do not want to make a comment, press the # sign. Assistance is available throughout the teleconference meeting. To request a specialist, press *0. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. However, during agenda item 2, public comments on items not on the agenda, the committee has limited the public comment period for individuals in the teleconference to 20 minutes. In addition, public comment from individuals here at the meeting will also be limited to 20 minutes. Therefore, after 20 minutes, no further comments will be accepted. During public comment on any other agenda item, 10 minutes will be allowed for comments from individuals on the teleconference line and those in the audience. After 10 minutes, no further comments will be accepted. Business service staff will be assisting me with receiving the public comments via teleconference during this meeting. The committee welcomes public comment on any item on the agenda, and it is the committee's intent to ask for public comment prior to the committee taking action on any agenda item. If for some reason I forget to ask for public comment on an agenda item and you wish to speak on that item, please raise your hand and you will be recognized. I would like to remind all speakers to complete a presenter slip so I can call you by name at the appropriate time, and that the record of this meeting can be full and complete. However, this is voluntary. Please give the speaker's slips to Ms. Toof. Ms. Toof, can you identify yourself? I will do my best to call upon everyone who has supplied a slip for the agenda item and recognize those who wish to make a last-minute comment. But we will ask you to fill out a speaker slip after your comments, so we have it for the record. I want to remind all speakers to please stay on topic and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. We plan to end today at, parentheses, later than 2 p.m. I would like to call the meeting to order and ask that Mr. Warden please call the roll.
I'll do it, no problem.
Ms. Toof.
Let Ms. Toof do this.
Dr. Gonadev?
Here.
Dr. Hawkins?
Here.
Ms. Pines? Here. Ms. Wright? Dr. Bishop?
Here.
Thank you.
I believe that's a quorum. I would like to remind the members that we will be taking a roll call vote on all action items. Moving to agenda 2, item 2, public comments on items not on the agenda. Are there any speaker slips? Seeing no speaker slips, are there any comments on the phone?
Nancy, any comments on the phone?
No comments at this time.
We are being very efficient. Excellent. Let's now move to item number 3, approval of minutes from the July 30, 2015 Licensing Committee meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the July 2015 meetings from the members? Any public comment from those in the audience? Okay. Any comments from the phone?
Nancy?
No, sir.
All right. May I have a motion to approve these as submitted?
So moved.
Second? Second. All right. Mr. Warden, please perform the roll call vote.
Dr. Gonadev?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Pines?
Yes.
Dr. Bishop?
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to agenda item 4, overview and discussion of minimum requirements for board-recognized accredited postgraduate training by Mr. Warden.
Okay. So today we have a PowerPoint regarding the overview of the minimum requirements, and what we are considering about increasing. So the two types of accreditation that we approve are the ACGME in the U.S. only and the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in Canada only. Both of those programs have international programs we do not recognize. The current minimum requirements for licensure for U.S. and Canadian graduates is 12 continuous months in the same ACGME or RCPSC program. And for international medical graduates, it's 24 months with the last 12 months in the same program. Current, let's see. I lost my spot. U.S. and Canadian graduates must be licensed by the end of 24 months, even if the PG training was not done in California. And IMGs must be licensed within 30 months, even if their postgraduate training was not done in California. The number of years to complete an ACGME program, the minimum is 3 years. For example, internal medicine, general, pediatrics, family medicine are some of those. 4 years for OBGYN and psychiatry, 5 years for general surgery, and 7 years for neurosurgery, which is one of the longest. Question is 1 or 2 years of accredited PG training enough for a physician to obtain a license and practice safely without any supervision? Medical education and practice of medicine is very different today than it was in 1980 and 1985 when the current standards were implemented. This page identifies the required number of years for postgraduate training by the number of states' minimum requirements. FSMB recommends a minimum of 3 years, and this is consistent with the FSMB Interstate Compact requirements. How many years should the board consider for minimum requirements today to provide best consumer protection? 2 years for both U.S. and Canadian and IMG graduates, or 3 years for both U.S. Canadian and IMG graduates? This slide identifies some of the pros and cons for increasing the minimum requirements to 2 years for both. This slide identifies some of the pros for increasing the minimum requirements to 3 years for U.S. and Canadian and IMGs. And this slide identifies the cons that we have identified. Here are some additional considerations for the board to consider. Will the board need to have the same medical school recognition process if the PG training requirements are increased, especially if the PG training requirements are increased to a minimum of 3 years? The current medical school recognition process was implemented in 2003. This was prior to the passage of Business Suppression Code 2135.7, which was passed in 2014, and now allows individuals who attended or graduated from an unrecognized medical school or disapproved medical school to apply for licensure. For the unrecognized medical schools, it's if they are ABMS certified and have held a license in another state or states for 10 years. And for a international medical school, it will be for 12 years. That if they went to a disapproved school, sorry. International medical schools are currently recognized pursuant to Business Impression Code 2089 and 2089.5, and California Code of Regulations 1314.1 A1 or A2. The alternatives to board medical school recognition process would include ECFMG and the World Federation of Medical Educations and the Foundation for Advanced International Medical Education and Research, is that they are scheduled to have a recognized accreditation agencies in place by 2023. ECFMG is already in the pilot phase with a few agencies, or to accept the new list of medical schools listed in the World Directory of Medical Schools, especially if the 3 years of accredited postgraduate training is required for licensure in California. Identified issues, type of license exemption. Should California be considered about, should California be concerned about somebody entering California from an ACG program from another state or from the RCS PCS programs? How will the board identify these individuals prior to residency training entering the program? Training license, what type of training license would we need? What would be required? When to apply? When to receive? How much will it cost? How long will it be valid for? Does training license need to be renewed? Training license privileges to consider: writing prescriptions without cosigner, qualifying for a DEA permit, sign birth and death certificates, and what kind of moonlight limitations would be placed. Assuming the board establishes a training license, when will a resident apply for a full and unrestricted license? 90 days prior to completing the ACGME program? Will that be enough time for the board to process a license? After completing the ACGME program, after, how long after? And then the other thing is how long will board staff need to, depending on how the training license requirements are implemented. And then how much time would the current ACGME programs need to implement the proposed changes? How much time would the board need to obtain the necessary amendments to statutes and regulations? And are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Are there any comments from members of the board? Dr. Gonda?
Mr. Warden, I'm glad you put this thing together. It's we've been talking about this for a while. Some resident gets dismissed after 1 year of training. If you're a U.S. graduate, you're eligible for license. And as a person who is a teaching institution for 35 years, I know how much what we let them go through before they get dismissed. It's not easy to dismiss a resident. There are some serious issues, but right now they're qualified to get California license, and if you're an IMG after 2 years, it's same. So you did point out a lot of what we need to resolve. And also, I know that for when the scope of practice is being hit from all the sites where physicians go through the most training, and we're going to make it more difficult for them to get a license compared to a lot of allied health professionals. I understand that, but I think the public safety-wise, in my mind, making it 3 years and resolving what all the issues remaining behind, that is, when do you give them a training license, where can they work with the training license, what can they do in a program, with the training license, I think they can be resolved. But for the best public safety, I think requiring 3 years is a better option rather than current 1 or 2 years.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of the panel, the board?
I tend to support that as well.
Right. The chair would also tend to support that idea as well. Are there any comments from those in the audience? As always, Ms. Kirchmeier, your comments are very welcome.
And I don't know, I might be a beaten Kurt to this, but I just kind of want to let you know where we are on this issue. So we've had one interested parties meeting on this issue, and when the individuals, when we actually held that, I think we ended up having one student there. And we had, I think, 2 interested parties, one person from 2 different interested parties. So we didn't have a lot of participation. We did open it up to the telephone as well. And I think we may have only had 1 individual on the telephone. Now, we did find out that some of the postgraduate training programs, that was a really bad day for them, the day that we had chosen. So we kind of went back and we were going to have another interested parties in late last year, actually, is what we were looking at. And in talking to some of the, Mr. Warden and I actually have a quarterly meeting with the GME directors. And so in talking to them, we've kind of pushed this out there. That's all of our identified issues. A lot of them are ones that they have come from actually meeting with that group. And so what we've actually decided is that we're going to actually do a slide presentation very similar to the one that Mr. Warden presented today, that we're going to give to them. And I'm going to actually have Kurt talk a little bit more about what those meetings will look like and who all that they will be providing that information to. But I just want to let you know that we're not losing any momentum on it. We're actually going to take it to the individuals who know the programs best and know the unintended consequences that from staff's perspective we might not be able to see. And so we've tried to identify as many as we can, but we think that the other individuals, the ones that are actually, feet on the ground, those are going to be the individuals that can provide the best information for us. And so that's the next group that we're going to go to. So I'll have Kurt explain that, but then just to let you know, then what we'd like to do is actually, and we'll be talking about this in the full board, then I'd like to actually put that into the sunset review as an issue for the medical board. And then hopefully we can get some support for legislation, be it in our sunset review. Obviously, though, looking to it to the future, because we do have to have some time to implement it both for the medical board and for these programs. So Kurt, can you talk about the GMEs, please?
So the meeting that Kim and I go to quarterly is actually with the UC regents and their associate deans of the graduate medical education, and that's where some of these ideas came up. And one of them suggested a PowerPoint that they could present at their designated institutional meetings with the program directors, and that they would be happy to sort of look at that for us once it was developed. Well, I just sort of finished developing that with myself, Ms. Kirkmeyer, and Ms. Webb, and I think Ms. Dobbs looked at it too. And that's going to go out to a couple of them to test a little bit to get their feedback on, and then once that's done, we'll be handing it out to, sending it out to the UCs at first, and then to they're going to help us distribute it to some of the other places. And I have talked with Dr. Jung from Loma Linda, and he's in support of some of our concepts from his school, and so that. And then I think, from what I've heard, I have not talked with anybody from Stanford or USC yet, but from general information, it seems to be that most program directors think 1 year is not enough, and for today's medicine. So,
Excellent. It sounds like we're on the right track. It sounds like we have some groundswell of support too as well. Thank you very much for your excellent presentation. Are there any other comments from the audience today? Any comments from those on the phone?
Not at this time.
Very good. Well, then we'll move on to number 5, overview and discussion of special faculty permits. We're working Mr. Warden hard today.
yes, too hard. So today is just a sort of a quick overview, and to start out with, the actual language of each of the business professions codes are in the back of the PowerPoint with the actual language of each code section from slides 21 through 27. A special faculty permit is a license exemption for a physician surgeon who does not meet current licensing requirements in California, who is eminent or clearly outstanding in their specialty, and has been recruited by a California medical school as a full tenured faculty member, or a full professor or an assistant professor, and the medical school has a great need to fill the faculty position. The special faculty permit only allows the permit holder to practice medicine at the medical school or a formally affiliated hospital of the medical school. This is a current list of the allopathic medical schools currently in California. which is 10, and there are, in addition to these 10 schools, there's another school that's in the application process, and one, Kaiser recently announced a plan to build a school in Southern California. So the medical school that's in the application process is actually, so far, called California University of Sciences and Medicine, College of Medicine in Colton. I'm pretty close to that. Dr. Gonadev's looking at me. So, so this is the Business and Professions Code, a little bit of history. Section 2168 was added to statute in 1997, and is basically, at that time, it was limited to academically imminent, and it's spelled out exactly what that was, which was basically the full professor's, a full-time professor tenured appointment. Possessed a current valid license in another state, country, or jurisdiction. The dean of the medical school sponsored and submitted a statement to the board describing the applicant's qualifications, justifying the dean's determination that the applicant is academically eminent. The dean must have also provided with a list of every affiliated institution which the applicant would be providing instruction or clinical activities. The board, in its discretion, may require the applicant to take for an SFB to take an oral exam. And this was requirements back in 1997, not current requirements. The following amendments to 2168 became effective in January 2007, which included the bill to make amendments not to include any requirement for a oral exam, and to add that he or she is clearly outstanding in a specific field of medicine into the previous requirements. It also established a special faculty permit review committee, and the committee members consist of a physician board member on the committee, and a public member from the board on the committee, and a representative from each of the medical schools. In 2168.2 also took effect on January 1st, 1997, and was amended in 1999, and eliminating the board may in its discretion. That one was whoa, now I can't see.
Mr. Warden can't see his presentation.
That one actually is the time when it eliminated the
Thank you.
oral examination requirement. And then made some other technical amendments. 2168.3 was added to statute and is similar to the requirements for a full and unrestricted physician and surgeon license. Twenty-one 68.4 is regarding the expiration renewal, which is very basically similar to a regular physician and surgeon's license with the exception, and it was amended in 1999 to add CME requirements. And 2168.5 was a report that was done to the legislature requirement in 2002 and was added in statute in 1997 and was amended in 2007 with a report to the legislature in 2011 and was repealed in 2013. And Section 2169 established the CME requirements, which is very similar to the CME requirements that was already established in 2168.4, but it made it basically the same, exactly the same as the current physician and surgeons. To date, the first special faculty permit was issued on August 18th, 1999, and 30 permits have been issued to date. I already talked about that one. And Also on that, previous slide, once the committee has a meeting, at that meeting, the sponsoring school makes the presentation of their recommendation to the rest of the committee. The committee then votes on that without that committee member in the place, and at that time, if they approve whatever or don't recommend, whatever the committee's recommendation is, it will be presented at the full board meeting by the chair. The application process is the medical school identifies a need for a faculty member with specific specialties, conducts a search for a physician with the specified skills. The medical school identifies a physician who does not meet the minimum requirements. However, the dean of the medical school has determined the applicant meets either one of the following: is either academically eminent or clearly outstanding. The dean of the medical school and the applicant submit an application to the board, including the application fees, fingerprint cards, and all the other required documents. Once the board staff reviews the application and the application is complete, and this is generally with the exception of the visa and social security number and the license fee, then that applicant will be presented at the next scheduled special faculty permit meeting. Faculty permits meetings are scheduled quarterly. We do not have one every quarter, only as if we have an applicant. At that time, it'll be at that committee meeting when the board makes the determination. Then after that meeting, then the committee chair will present that to the full board. If the full board approves the applicant, staff will issue the special faculty permit once the board receives the remaining fees and required documents, which would include the visa and social security number, if a visa is required. The renewal process for a special faculty permit is the same as a regular physician and surgeon license, with the exception that the dean of the sponsoring medical school must confirm the faculty permit holder still meets the minimum requirements. This is the copy of the statement of what the dean must sign and submit to the board. This slide shows how many special faculty permits have been issued as of April 2016. The number of permits in canceled status and renewed and current status, and to date, no faculty permits have been disciplined by the board. Slides 15 and 16 are the actual people with special faculty permits that the board has issued. And 17. The board sent out a questionnaire to the medical schools. I only sent this out to 9 of the medical schools because one of the medical schools has not participated in the special faculty permit because of how new it was, and so I did not send one to that school. However, we received responses from those schools regarding that. So the responses from the schools included for question number 1, I'll bring that back. For question number 1 is...
Visually challenged people like me, could you read the question?
Yes, I can read the question. Do you believe the special faculty permit program is still needed today? 7 of the medical schools responded yes. 1 medical school responded no, out of the 9 schools we sent it to. For question number 2, does the special faculty permit program provide the medical school with faculty who are eminent or clearly outstanding in their fields of specialty and who clearly outstanding in their specialty field and who have expertise and skills in the medical school would not be able to attain from physicians who meet all the requirements for licensure in California? 7 of the schools replied yes, 1 school said no. For question number 3, is is the special faculty permit program currently meeting the needs of your medical school? 5 of the medical schools responded yes, 3 of the medical schools responded no. Question number 4, if you have used the special faculty permit program, please explain the quality and quantity of the value of delivered by the faculty that is presenting. 6 of the medical schools responded to the survey, and 2 of the schools skipped it. Comments from the medical schools. So we do not know which schools replied to what answers because we did an anonymous survey. So we'll identify these by schools by numbers. So school number 1, we received no comments from. School number 2, if you answered yes to question number 3, and please explain why or why not. And the response from school number 2, it was those in it really are not imminent. They simply want to come here and weren't able to qualify for a license. And for school number 2, they responded to question number 4. I have not seen those in this position to be of any special value to the program, and it turns into a pathway for those who couldn't get a license. School number 3 provided a response to question number 4 and states, allows recruitment of highly qualified foreign-trained academic physicians to benefit the universities and the medical community and general population. School number 4 responded to question number 3. With the expansion of the academic hospitals into integrated health systems, the 2168 holder should be able to practice within any of the hospitals with which the academic program has affiliated. That actually is possible if they have a formal affiliation agreement and they have submitted that to the board and the board approves that. Most of them have done that. So, on question number 4, for school number 4, they said outstanding clinical care has improved access to services within the academic health system. School number 5 responded to question number 4. The special faculty permit allows us to recruit world-renowned faculty members. This allows California medical schools to compete with medical schools in other states to attract and retain highly sought-after teachers and clinicians who benefit our patients and the patients of our learners. School number 6 replied to question number 4 also, and they said that it does allow the flexibility for recruiting top faculty. School number 7 responded to question 3. I believe the criteria should be very rigorous and not simply a means to hire someone not able to meet requirements for licensure. It should not be used for junior level faculty who could take the required examination if truly motivated to do so. This should not be a backdoor to licensure. School number 7 also responded to question 4. We have used the program on a very limited basis. We have turned down requests from our departments on several occasions. Our biggest concerns with the program is the fear that qualified applicants may be available, but foreign-trained physicians are preferred by some department heads because they will not leave and go into competition with the practice plan. I strongly believe the program should be limited to clearly eminent, world-renowned experts in the field, with the exception all academic records, and that a clear demonstration that the applicant with similar skills who is eligible for normal licensure is not available and a dire need needs for their expertise. And school number 8 provided no comments. And that concludes that presentation.
Any comments from members of the board? Dr. Granado.
Mr. Warden, it's an excellent presentation. It looks like UC system uses them the most by looking at it. Loma Linda never used them, and USC and Stanford used it a little bit. Is that what my understanding is?
Actually, Loma Linda has one pending. They're waiting for their visa to come through that the board has approved. But yes, the UCs seem to use it more. Stanford has, I think, a couple, but mostly the UCs have been using it.
So I support the system, not because we're creating a medical school. I just want to take my conflict into that. But before that, The reason I think public safety why we're okay is because you have a tremendous amount of supervision at the academic centers compared to somebody is in practice. It's because people ask me, why should we allow medical schools to do this, but we can't allow others to do? My answer is there is a lot more hierarchy in medical school structures where they can look after, and I follow that somewhat closely. To my knowledge, there was one person at a school in the Northern California had some issues, and that was it. And and I saw that name as canceled permit. So, do we ever get complaints about them from the faculty or from anyone else? I'm just curious because that one person was in the public news. That's the only reason I know. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known.
Well, as I said, we haven't taken any action on any of these individuals yet, so.
So Dr. Ganadev, we treat these just like an individual that's licensed. We get complaints on these individuals, and we'll go through the process if we need to take action against them. So we have gotten complaints against some of them, we've investigated them, and when we could, if we could, or if we rose to that level, we would take action.
Excellent. Any other members of the board? I do have one speaker slip from Marion Hollingsworth. The next one.
And
Very good.
Dr. Bishop, if I could, I just wanted to
Please
let the members know, the reason we put this on the agenda is because this had been requested by a board member to talk about the special faculty permits and why, what it looks like, kind of the background on it and how the system is going. From the comments that we've received, I think it would be really important for us to take those back to the actual Special Faculty Permit Review Committee. As you heard, some of the concerns it sounded like from the schools were that, they were concerned about the individuals being eminent and renowned and everything. And so I think it'd be important for us, and if the committee kind of directs us to do that, is to take them back and actually show them to the Special Faculty Permit Review Committee and kind of let them know kind of what's been said about the program. You heard, two opinions, one that it's really good and I think they're helpful, and I can't agree more. I mean, I think it does put the right individuals here, but I think there's some concerns about some of the individuals maybe not meeting the criteria, and the persons that really look at that criteria are those Special Faculty Permit Committee members. And so I think it'll be good for them to hear that feedback, and then, and also we'll relay that to the board as well. But
I know the ones that have been presented to the board, full board, since I've been here, seem to be very well qualified. I'm not sure if this is sour grapes, or if there have been some concerns with some of the earlier applicants, but I do think, I agree with you, and I would like to see staff further investigate this. Particularly, it's unfortunate we don't know who the schools are that wrote the negative comments. It'd be nice to know exactly what concerns they might have, but I think it's worth, because those were there, looking into those, and I applaud your hard work. One more, are there any comments from the phone regarding this agenda item?
Not at this time.
Very good. So then we will move on to our next agenda item, overview and discussion of special programs.
I just have one. Did you want us to bring that to the Special Faculty Permit Committee, the concerns that we had today? Or the
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. I apologize. Yes. I alluded to that, but did not specifically say that. I absolutely agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so in addition to the special faculty permits, there are some other special programs that are out there that are also license exemptions. And those are also in the Business and Professions Code, and basically it's these codes that the most common ones that we have are these codes here. The Business and Professions Code's 2111. Which is a license exemption for an international physician surgeon who is graduated from a medical school recognized by the board and is licensed in another country. and it allows the physician to participate in a California Medical School's non-ACGME accredited fellowship program to learn a new skill and to take that skill back to their registrant's home country, not company. The 2111 participant may only participate at the medical school at the sponsoring medical school. The registration is for 1 year and may be renewed no more than 2 times. However, most all of these are only 1 years, so I don't recall any of them being renewed recently for more than just the one time year. So, Business and Profession Code 2112 is license exemption registration for an international trained physician who attended and graduated from a medical school recognized by the board, is licensed in another country. It allows the physician to participate in a board-approved California teaching hospital non-ACGME accredited fellowship to learn a new skill and take that skill back to the registrant's home country. Again, they may only practice at that specific hospital strictly for that fellowship. And once again, it can be renewed for 1 year and may be renewed up to 2 times. However, there's only 2 hospitals who have this program at this time, and each of them only do it for 1 year. The Business Profession Code 2113 is a faculty registration for an international physician and surgeon who attended and graduated from medical school recognized by the board, licensed in another country. Again, it allows the physician, this one allows the physician to teach in the California Medical School, and the physician may only practice medicine at the medical school or formerly affiliated hospitals which are approved by the board. The registration is valid for 1 year at a time. It may be renewed 2 times with the board's approval. Prior to the end of the 3rd year, the sponsoring medical school and the applicant may request the faculty registration to be renewed for an additional year, and they must submit a licensure plan. The licensure plan must include the timeframes for taking and passing all the licensing examinations, including attaining an ECFMG certification status report and taking USMLE Step 1, Step 2, CK, 2CS, and Step 3. If the board approves the licensing plan, the board will renew the faculty permit for an additional year. Prior to the end of the 4th year, the sponsoring medical school and the applicant may request an extension and submit a new licensing plan that identifies what they have completed so far and what they still need to complete. This includes any of the examinations they have remaining and when they plan on taking those examinations. The maximum length of time that anybody may participate in this is 5 years. There is one thing to note: the sponsoring medical school and the applicant may request the board to waive any and all licensing examinations. Examination waivers requests are reviewed by the Application and Special Programs Committee in closed session. By coming in to the special faculty permit, not special faculty permit, this faculty registration allows the time spent in that to count for the required ACGME training program. So this eliminates the requirement for the ACGME training for them. We evaluate it based on how much time they're spending in clinical practice and teaching, and it needs to be equivalent to basically the same amount of time they would have spent for a minimum of 2 years in an ACGME program if they were in an IMG, as a regular IMG. So, and California Code of Regulations, Section 1327, is a clinical training program from international medical school students. A hospital may request the board to approve for approval to train international medical school students in specific subjects if the hospital meets the minimum requirements specified in Section 1327. The programs is for California hospitals that do not have an ACGME accredited program in a specific subject area. The board's approval is for 1 year at a time and must be renewed yearly. We have 2 hospitals that participate in that, and they have been doing it for quite a long time. So, and that allows them to teach. One of them is Metropolitan State Hospital, and they provide psychiatry, 4 weeks of psychiatry at their hospital. There's also a place that we send applicants who are deficient in their psychiatry rotations from international medical school. They are allowed, with our permission, to remediate that psychiatry training instead of going back to their medical school. They can do it here in California. And one of the requirements is they have to have a very close student-to-physician ratio, so as you can see here. So they are very monitored very well. And I've been to both of those hospitals that provide this, and they do have a very well-established, well-run programs. Do you have any questions?
Dr. Donato?
I don't know. I have a lot of questions there, Mr. Warden. So actually, I'm glad that you presented this. I was wondering how. So special faculty registration means that if they do 2 years as an IMG, they are eligible for license in California.
I misspoke. Special faculty permit is
Registration I'm asking.
just the registration, yes,
And once they get licensed, they can practice anywhere else.
correct.
Okay.
They get basically the same license you have.
So it's similar to doing an ACGME program, even though it's not an ACGME program, they're doing for 2 years.
Correct. Almost all of them need at least 3 years to do it, because most of them do not have any exams when they come. And in order for them to take all their exams, they generally need to be here at least 3 years to success. Most of them are here maybe a little longer. There are some exceptions to that where they started taking USMLE exams prior to them beginning that, and so they may be able to get it done in the 2.5, 3 year period versus maybe 4. So, and there's some of them who never take the exams. They just only complete the 5 years.
So are they, now you have an experience in them, I don't know how many people are there. Is this a back door if you can't get into ACGME program? Are we using them only for people who are well-trained, well-experienced, and then coming here and don't have to completely go through the entire residency program?
This is another thing where they can't just apply to the board for this. They have to apply to the dean of the medical school, and they're generally sponsored by a program director who has recruited and says this is the person they want for their faculty. The difference in this is they don't have to meet the clearly outstanding or academically eminent. So that's why they require, even though they are required, so for instance, the special faculty permit individuals do not have to take any exams if they want to continue practicing, and they can practice until they retire or the school cancels their registration, because the schools can cancel their registrations. A school can cancel any of these, like they can cancel the 2113 registration or the 2111 or 2112. They can cancel those at their own will, not just the board. The board, just as Ms. Kirkmeyer said before, these individuals are also subject to complaints and discipline processes as anybody else is, but the school actually controls, if they had something, they can cancel them themselves, so.
Any other questions from board members? Any questions from the audience? And anybody from the phone?
Not at this time.
Very good. Then we'll move along to item number 7, future agenda items. Are there any members of the board that would like to request any future agenda items? And is this, now you, Ms. Hollingsworth, was this your speaker slip, or did we skip you? I'm sorry? Next committee, okay, well, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Well, we're eagerly awaiting then. Thank you, very good. Any members, anybody from the phone?
Not at this time.
Very good. Well, if that's the case, I believe we've completed our agenda, and I'd like to call for adjournment. Thank you very much.